Hi everybody, now we're going to do a little Pesach cooking. Pesach's an amazing time. Pesach is a time where, I guess for cooks you could say it's the best of times, it's the worst of times. Because a lot of people for Pesach, like myself and my family, a lot of people, they only stick to very, very basic ingredients for Pesach. They don't use things that are processed or manufactured or anything like that. So on the one hand, it's like a real chore because you have to make everything from scratch. You have to figure it out. By the other hand, it's number one, it's like going back to the basics of what cooking really is. And number two, it's, you really get to test your creativity. So one of the recipes that I've always made for Pesach that my family really loves is what they call Pesach mayonnaise, right? Pesach mayonnaise. So as we go through it, you'll see it's a very, very simple mayonnaise. The first thing we're going to use is eggs. So what we do is we check eggs to make sure there's no blood spots in the eggs because you're not allowed to eat blood. So we're going to check each egg. Look at it. You can check it. You break it into a glass. And we're going to put it into the bowl that we're going to end up making the mayonnaise in and mixing it in. How to check eggs is a whole story. I mean, putting it in the glass and looking at it from all directions is probably the best. I learned once at a place I cooked at, a very big place I cooked at, where they said that, no, you just have to pour the egg on top and look at the top and see if there's no blood on the top. But anyway, that be it as it may. So I guess for this recipe, we're going to use 2 eggs. So what do you put into mayonnaise? The next thing you have to put in is lemon juice. And here what we're going to do is we're going to use, normally what would I do? I would use a bottle of lemon juice. I hate to say it. But now it's Pesach, we're going to do everything very fresh. So now we're going to make our own lemon juice. This is a nice little lemon squeezer. You put it into here and you squeeze the lemon. It's a little too big still. We'll make it a little smaller. Maybe we'll use the smaller piece. A good idea. Right? We'll take the smaller piece and we're going to squeeze it and it's going to come through. Theoretically, there's not supposed to be any seeds that come through, but experientially, I've seen that doesn't always happen. Let's see what happens here. We're going to squeeze the lemons. Putting lemons in, right? Oh, squeeze a nice lemon. So this is going to come out about, it's called a liter. It's going to be about a liter of mayonnaise in the end, a little less, maybe 3/4 of a liter. So I put in 2 eggs. Oops. And this is about, I call it a tablespoon of lemon juice. What you're trying to get with mayonnaise is you're trying to get like a sweet and sour type of thing, but you shouldn't be able to taste the sweet, you shouldn't be able to taste the sour. That's the trick of it. Obviously the next thing is sweet and sour. You have to put in sugar. You don't have to use sugar. That's the whole thing about cooking. I'm putting in probably about, I don't know, what did I just put in? A couple of teaspoons full. And this is salt. This is Himalayan salt. I like Himalayan salt. I was told by a practitioner that it was very good for me, so I put in some Himalayan salt, maybe about a teaspoon. Again, you can taste. I'm one of those people who taste, and I'm not so good at recipes. Maybe the 2 things go together. Maybe they do. And now, what we're going to have is we're going to add a very interesting ingredient here. For those of you who haven't seen such a thing before, this is a garlic. This is a garlic, right? This is a garlic. And this is a garlic in its natural state. During Pesach, I live in Israel. A lot of people in Israel, during Pesach, they come up with all this fresh garlic. It's fresh from the farms and everything like that. It's really, really good. And besides that, it's going back to basics, back to basics, back to basics. We want as little processing as possible before Pesach. So here's the garlic. As you notice, it's purple, right? The natural color of garlic, I guess, or certain types of garlic is purple before it dries. So I'm going to take a piece of garlic from here. Right? It's beautiful, isn't it? It's a beautiful plant. And you have to peel a few layers from it first because as it dries, I notice a lot of the layers become, more papery, what we traditionally understand garlic to be. I'm going to put in, what would you call this? More or less 1 clove. I'm going to put that in. And that's that. So now what we have to do, that's basically it's very simple mayonnaise, right? It's very simple. Now how I do it is I use this is a hand blender, an immersion blender, whatever you want to call it. There's other ways to do it. This to me is a very easy way to do it. This is my lifesaver on Pesach, is this little thing here. I had one year when my food processor broke down right before Yom Tov. I couldn't get another one. So what did I do? I just used this. I made potato cockles with this. Don't ask me how. I did everything I could with it. So here we go. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to blend everything that's in here. Again, this is the 2 eggs. a clove of garlic, about a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of sugar, and maybe a tablespoon of lemon juice. Now just going to break everything up here. So now everything is emulsified. So now the whole point, I don't know if that's the right word, emulsified. Everything's blended. Now we're going to talk about emulsified. What's emulsified? Emulsified, as far as I know, is when you take an oil and you blend it into a non-oil liquid, and somehow the molecules of oil, they blend with the molecules of water or these other substances, and they make like a thick mixture. So the more oil you put in, the thicker it's going to get. The only problem is that if you put in too much, then somehow it starts to reverse itself and it just tastes like you're eating oil. It's not very good. So now I'm going to take this bottle of oil. So Pesach people use, generally you can use nut oil, almond oil, if there's such a thing, walnut oil, olive oil people can use. The problem with olive oil is it has a very strong taste. And if you don't want your mayonnaise to have a strong, some people like it. I like olive oil taste, but if I'm eating olive oil, I want to eat olive oil. If not, I want to have like the most neutral taste I can. During the year I use canola generally. So what we're going to do, and this is very, very easy, there's other ways to do it, is I'm going to put the stick blender into the mixture here. I hope you can see it. The stick blender into the mixture here, turn it on, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the oil as it blends, little by little. Again, this is very forgiving. That's another thing about this. I used to make mayonnaise in a food processor. You had to add drip, 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 drip. You know, this is very forgiving. You can't dump the whole bottle in, although I did read somewhere that you can put everything in at once, including the oil, and blend it. I never tried that. I like the idea of playing with it. So here we go. I'm turning it on. I'm just adding the oil. I don't know if you can hear me at all while this is going on, so we'll just kind of like do this silently, more or less. It's also a very cool thing about it. You can lift this thing up in the air. You need really 3 hands. You need one to hold it down and one to pull it. But just be careful, it won't spill. So now I'm adding the oil. See, right now at this point it really didn't do much. It just kind of got foamy. But you add a little more oil. You tease it up and down. So I used to always tease it up and down. Make sure everything, because the hand blender is really at the bottom, except when it rises to the top. But it's really at the bottom of your container. So if you want everything to mix, you gotta tease it. You gotta lift it up. So here now it's starting to look like kind of like a thin mayonnaise dressing type of a thing. So more. At this point, what I'm doing is I've lifted this up. I want this to be like closer to the top when I'm doing it, so the oil just slides down the thing and gets emulsified right away, because I don't want a oil slick on the top. So here we go. So now you see this is pretty thick. When you refrigerate it, it even gets a little thicker. But this is still, it's not going to come out like commercial mayonnaise. I don't know you want to come, but the thickness, you want to have a thickness. So I like to do it a little more. But here's where you have to be a little careful. I don't know if you can see it when I'm doing it, but you have to put it in, and when it makes a little oil slick at the top, that's kind of telling you that it's finished. You can tease it down a little bit afterwards, but all right, so here we go. Now you can see that little oil slick at the top. Now I'm going to just tease that in and out. This is a good way to get it to come off. And another beautiful way to clean this is just take any type of container with soapy water and put it in there, and it cleans it perfectly. All right, so we see here that really, I said it was going to be a liter. It's not really a liter. It's a little more than it's a little about more like a half a liter of mayonnaise. Now what I wanted to, this is beautiful mayonnaise the way it is. It's, try it, you like it. But you can do a lot with this. It doesn't have to, like Pesach is a time, like if you're not, you could look at it and say there's really no creativity going on here. There's too much, it's too simple. But you can do a lot of creativity with just natural ingredients, just natural ingredients. If I cooked like I cooked the whole Pesach the whole year, I would, number one, be healthier, and number two, I think would drive my family crazy. Anyway, so now You can add herbs. Add herbs to your mayonnaise. You know, fresh herbs. We use fresh herbs. We don't use anything dried. We use no dried spices. Really, the only thing that we particularly use on Pesach is we use oil. That's, you know, pre-made things. We use oil. We use sugar. We use salt. We use wine, grape juice, and tea. I added coffee because I couldn't go a week without coffee. But that's more or less it. Everything else has to be fresh. So if you want, you can take your this is kuzbara. Kuzbara in Hebrew. I think I know it's called cilantro in English. It's a beautiful spice. It's such a smell. It's unbelievable spice. You can use this for a lot of things. I could do a whole movie just on kuzbara. But here, what we're going to do is now when you have your mayonnaise, you add a little bit of this. What would you call this? I don't even know how you would measure this, like an ounce. And you put it in. Say I put it in. And then you just do the same thing. Again, you have to tease it in. If you do it just a little bit, then you're going to end up with pieces, flecks, which is very nice. If you want like a green flecked mayonnaise. But if you want to just all one, you know, you just keep going. See, I'll show you what it looks like at this point. You see, you have green flecks. It's very, very nice. Oops. You have very green flecks. Now you keep going. Try to go through getting your aggressions out. And you have here, there's still a little bit of green flecks. If I really wanted to mix it, maybe I'll do it just to show you. The problem is that it's too thick at this point. It's too emulsified. It's too thick. You can't turn it over enough to chop it. So what do? Say you made your mayonnaise too thick, or start again. Just add another egg. Just add another egg that thins it out. The whole thing with cooking, at least for me, the whole thing with cooking is to be flexible. Is just to be flexible. It's got to be something that has movement. It has to be something that has flexibility. I'm not a baker, by the way, because a baker's a whole thing. You have to make it exactly that. Put it in, close the oven for 45. It's not me. All right, so here we're going to now add the other part. Make it a little more watery. Be very careful with your fingers, by the way. I'm getting bored with all this mixing, but you can see here there's still a little bit of flex. The truth of the matter is, if I really wanted no flex, I guess what I would have done is I would have taken off these stems and just used the leaves, and it would have gone a little bit too far. So I'm just a little bit messy here. Excuse me for that. So that is our Pesach mayonnaise, and I hope you get a chance to try it. I hope you get a chance to enjoy it. And hope you have a really happy and a delicious Pesach.